Hello, dear Miss Sweeny in Trinity College. There was a Joe DeMoro and there's a Michael Kerr who were involved with their brothers who worked for Caldors and Ames in like strip malls. And they were involved with seeking me out as strangers to make confessions, which were also confirmations of Mr. Abruzzi, recorded, confessed, and demonstrated by other kids. Was involved. I never had a personal conversation with him. Close that I came to that. One time he told me to do a maze that a Joe DeMoro made, and then he walked away. I don't know if Joe DeMoro was in my class or but they were involved with investigation. They were also involved with making confessions about overt criminal enterprises. Now this is with people in middle school, and that was only one time I ever saw Joe DeMoro on the campus of a grammar school I went to, Highcrest School, when I was a kid. Now I caught there are people still with the phones and with the schools, and people that live next to schools further involved with a principal child defender. And in other words, there was a girl who asked me questions, who was demonstrating confess. Then, in other words, one time when I walked inside to a cafeteria in my school, when I would become, first I was called to the office from, they were doing crazy things where everyone was lying, and they were attaching kids to fake locations, on campuses and off campuses, to hide lie progressions, and they are kept needing to hide lie progressions that are relevant to investigations that keep going forward, because there's a method. A breaching method originally and still is what history is about. So a breaching method, we don't have to call it a predicate acts delivery system method, but it is recorded that. I'm not even a lawyer, not peaceful, I'm not criminal. So these are people involved with New Britain Superior Court and Hartford courts that are recorded, confessed, and demonstrated with personal ties and with family ties. And with syntax ties, they already used investigators, all kinds of cases. And they used depositions, knowing where people were going to walk to fabricate audio and video. And they replaced what is actually recorded with fabricated audio and video transcripts. The adults that were involved with them. Like now these are adults that are involved with child abuses with further kids. On and off the campuses connected. There's also a Celeste Wells, I don't know, who's involved with that. These are identity thefts, frauds, as people also involved with the North End of Hartford, as identities of law, as people that are plainclothes and other, recorded, confessed, and demonstrated, confirmed. All their processes, their databases are involved with racketeering. So I don't know that girl who pretended other, and she had to lie about that. And that's why part of the reason they bring up all these confessions are to keep consolidated contexts where the intelligence community and their kids, prosecutors' kids, judges' kids, the extended family members anyway, they can't go back and afford to have anyone use correlation, simultaneously, inherent, active, progressive means, are short words, proper. And so they prevented the colonists. They prevented Native Americans first, and that was sustained. They prevented the colonists. They know they had to respond to the negative value, nature, progressions, acts, and natures, those crazy laws, database relationships would and did cause, as roles with nature demonstrating, those systems themselves, criminal insidiousness natures, incapable of defending themselves, and of affording the protraction of short words, so incapable of affording short words proper. And so, in other words, this is a method that 2 times I only saw in my life when I was a kid. 2 times on Millwoods Park. A Mike Kerr. There's also, I never saw anywhere in my neighborhood growing up, a Joshua Stryker. He was also involved with people that made bombs and stuff like that. The one time I saw him at Eric Oliveri's house, and he asked me if I wanted to be part of them selling drugs through UPS. This is a house down the street from the state judicial branch offices. He's also recorded, confessed, demonstrated through time, involved, like with Eric Alveri. I don't know, I never had a conversation verbally with his brother. But these are also people I met through my neighbor, one who's a Ray Claw. I don't know his sister's name. Gene is the name he used to repeat. They used to repeat names. They do things with this is syntax with evidence racketeering. These are people that come up and bring conversations up, and then they have courts approach them. In other words, and everyone, where and how they also are simultaneously confessing, where those same courts were using, in other words, are predators against them. They're also valuing that, not legitimately. They want us to say that, but in other words, they're allowed to lie, use the quote, the right to lie, unquote, where they didn't and don't have the right to lie. So, defendant of the former director of the F.B.I. Robert Luskin, in his defendant capacities, he's involved in a 2006 district court case in Connecticut with people before the World Trade Center attack and since it, involved with judges and prosecutors. Also people involved with the depositions, with the location of the or offering to house. In other words, offering my father to be able to depose the former director of the FBI and or his co-defendants and his co-defendants in that building. See, the former director of the FBI and Thaddeus Grabowski and other co-defendants of his leading up to that 2006 district court case have threats and predicate acts rolls against me personally, and with their kids and family members, and locations next to. These are people also. So in other words, these are people that timed a couple times, two times with Mike Kerr at they lied to me to get me to go towards the park without me even realizing. It was just, and then they have people like that was the first time that girl approached me with she asked me what the person said. I didn't know. I don't know if that was Mike Kerr or not. Actually, I didn't see who it was real quick, but he's recorded one of the ones. So in other words, he had a brother, Jerry Kerr. Jerry Kerr is also a name. His father was also involved with the buildings next to, and himself involved with the buildings next to Fox Connecticut News in downtown Hartford, with the buildings next, which is also the buildings across from the state capitol, and a religious place. These are people involved with various natures of religious places used criminally by courts, in collusion with. So they're keeping people evidence racketeering roles. So in other words, that girl later, one of the girls, I believe it's the same one. Years later, she walked up to me in high school. I never had a class with her. They make times where you're gonna have people in your same grade. They refer to that as a class also, no. Or in the same cafeteria, but you're never gonna see them in the same cafeteria because you walk from this class, from this part, and these tables are gonna be filled up. They have all that played out by a method where they have complete possession over the sense and sensibilities of the kids and over their parents, because they're lying to the parents too through their own kids too with the games and with the overt criminal enterprises and private ones. There is a Fred Grisey and our others with my town's police chief, and 1 year ago recorded, confessed, and demonstrated involved with people on Zion Street, with drugs with kids, and with people associated with the FBI, with the Los Solitos, and with the Joey Quest, and with people with Weathersfield Avenue, and involved identity thefts and frauds. That, for example, are also one of the things that the natures of identity falsified police reports and evidence reception racketeering roles. A Professor Shub also recorded, confessed, and demonstrated and confirmed. I didn't know it was a confirmation, but people on Two Rod Highway in Wethersfield, Connecticut, where it runs into Hangdog Lane in the Berlin Turnpike before the heart of Hartford. The people on that locations on that street, he repeated, were involved with him and his wife, with courts, and with their kids. Also, all up with people locations. He lives right near there too, per him, where they have the scope. They make confessions on off campuses with professors is part of the methods involved, with the people involved, with the courts forging and switching names, with police forms that are involved with their kids themselves, with the principal child defenders campus and with other campuses, and with medical families. There's a Leahy family that pretended conversations with me that is involved personally, criminally, with prosecutors and dozens of people with New Britain Superior Court alone, and with probate court, where they have a right to force people in for mental evaluation. 3 times they forced me for mental evaluation to hide what I caught them recorded doing. 3 times they used such to replace what is actually recorded with fabricated audio and video. Now, these are roles with everything from Afghanistan families and their roles with various kinds of drugs, even and programs and counters to it, with the people furthering such, because they're using their motivations are their uses of the databases, which was used remotely, so it was used for cover-ups. So they have methods by sticking fake things in databases where there's the phenomena of other types of, quote, professionals, unquote, experts that are trained to pretend that the information in the databases is real. And so this is where and how that the branches of government, locations, areas, and states in the campuses database relationships originally and still were motivated by the victims of a breaching method to self-value roles with it. And there are other truths of things that they can make people self-value roles with it. But really what most furthered it was the syntax racketeering, specifically for the functions racketeering, with all identity ground locations. So there are fire departments, Wethersfield Fire Department, there's a Aiello family, also recorded, confessed, and demonstrated involved with predicate acts on off Trinity College and on off Zion Street with families knowingly or unknowingly by him being and having been used for evidence racketeering. So these are people with the intelligence community that are criminally foreign influenced. These are the people that are involved with federal criminals since before they got caught, who are involved with other natures of federal crimes, with the former director of the F.B.I. in his defendant capacities. Now, so these are also people that attach me and Saudis to fake words and fake locations before the World Trade Center attack and after it. And since WFSB and Fox Connecticut News, WFSB attached me to fake words. It was his recorded, confessed, and demonstrated that they have private investigators involved with locations next to them. And with the Fienza family, also one of the ones who recorded, confessed, and demonstrated involved with identity thefts and frauds that are also falsified police reports roles, evidence racketeering, and much worse, with people on and off Two Rod Highway where it runs into Hangdog Lane in the Berlin Turnpike before the heart of Hartford. Those 3 spots at the end of the Berlin Turnpike were also repeated and demonstrated, involved with the confessions all at once, and demonstrations of the people like former Dr. Shub. So in other words, this is preventing people from making the proper translations, for example, of languages. Because the systems themselves, the identity of the ground locations, and the shared policing of hundreds of nations at once. That's evidence. Correlation means that computers aren't fast enough. In other words, not even there's speed can't fix that. Physical speed can't fix how they have to try to mimic what is simultaneous. Even if they mimic it perfectly, they can't be what is simultaneous. That is, that identity of volume, that inventions work or not in relationship to its identity in relationship to itself, and the value of that, the value/value progression we are humanity. Only the extent of it is debatable. But originally and still we had what is not debatable, and with physical delusions offensively pretended, believed, and actually believed by the locations and areas and states, opinion natures, A through Z, overt criminal enterprises, regular citizens, branches of government, recorded, confessed, demonstrated, confirmed, self-valued as criminal enterprise, as criminally legalized criminal enterprises, as victim predators, the same way the overt criminal enterprises are. They're also kept needing to hide the same sequence as final act of progressive lies and identity thefts and frauds, roles and uses of them timed, which is relevant. So they pretend not to understand people. So they bring up instances tied to the people with the locations, areas on off campuses, fake instances. So they keep campuses from off campuses involved with the organized crime methods also of C.I.A. and involved with the families like a Joe DeMoro and a Mike Kerr, who also are recorded, confessed, and demonstrated by friends of theirs, having been involved with predicate acts with this Stryker kid, a guy. I know he wasn't even my grade, a grade above me, I think, or two, I don't know. And his friend, who's the brother of one of the houses. Over the last 2 months, officers have been switching names, Wethersfield town offices, the library. They recorded, confessed, and demonstrated their officers, their roles with drugs crimes and federal crimes with evidences, and identity thefts and frauds and uses of the park through time has to do with Afghanistan and how they have roles with Asian countries, a Taekwondo places all along Route 3 that are confessed, recorded, confessed, demonstrated, also having been involved with locations on all sides of the high school, the middle school, and around other campuses in town, and further with the principal child sex offenders campus. There is a mayor or a former mayor, Morin, and there's a Bella, and I asked for responses. No one responded on Facebook because they're also CNN is recorded, confessed, demonstrated, confirmed by Brian Stelter that confirmed rules with F.B.I. and C.I.A. further other besides former director of the F.B.I. Robert Luskin, but also he's one of the ones involved with them with the attaching people from the World Trade Center attack to fake locations. With the investigators of it, military police also roles forging, switching names of Wethersfield police, and with this Dillon family involved with the predicate acts, and these are sustained. I've been asking since before the World Trade Center attack. I didn't know at the time it was judges and prosecutors and people that work with the courts and their families tied to the depositions in the court, the uses of their locations for the deposition of Robert Luskin in his defendant capacity. He's the former director of the F.B.I., the former standing chairperson on Racketeering, Influence, and Corrupt Organization Act, which is relevant because the people involved with him, with the predicate acts on off the campuses, intercities connected in time, tied to the wire crimes ongoing with the Wethersfield police. They also attached me to Mendez police, fake conversations on the Weathersfield Police Department with the one with fake words. Put me in quotations. They've been putting me in fake quotations for a long time. Wire crime rules, identity thefts and frauds rules a long time. 2 Mendez police and others in their family involved with predicate acts with databases and with wire crimes when they were kids too, with this DeMoro family, who also recorded, confessed, demonstrated, conformed. They're involved with like drugs, crimes, even like from the different, because even how they're involved with steroids and with the Afghanistan families and Asian families involved with predicate acts with them with mail crimes, wire crimes, and evidence perception racketeering, falsified police reports, locations next to where the Weathersfield Police Department is now, where it used to be years ago. I mean, where it is now, where it used to be, which is in the same building with the Weathersfield Library, the Weathersfield Town offices. Further, there's a person tied to 2 of the people on the child sex offender register, one of them being the principal sex offender. Real or made up. He could have been framed because of what he confessed to me and how he confessed it and to others. But so we have to, the courts have been playing games, forging, switching names, and attaching me and everyone around me and little kids to fake words, fake locations. They've been replacing what is actually recorded audio and video with fabricated audio and video into databases and verbally spoken. And verbally spoken to them. Their sources are also recorded criminally foreign influence. So they've been preventing me writing to respond to where and how the courts influence people to ask me for help. That's how I found out. I have Eric Burgess and others associated with him recorded, confessed, and demonstrated forced to roles with predicate acts on Central Connecticut State University. I never saw him on that campus in my life. And as ones that were time coordinated also later and since on off Trinity College. These are military police with identity thefts and frauds rule. There's also a Charlie Bowes. I never had a verbal conversation with my life. I walked by him one time off campus around the time with the former director of the F.B.I. and his co-defendants also had kids in my grade. Adon LeConte is also involved with on-off web school and houses next to them with the Afghanistan family and the people involved with drugs and federal crimes with the military families like Justin Levinskas. Also recorded, confessed, and demonstrated. Lucinda is involved with predicate acts with him and identity thefts and frauds. And it also they noted, they demonstrated that when I was jogging one time, they had strange behavior in front of where the map on Google said, near the corner of Wells Road and Walcott Hill. It's recorded, confessed, and demonstrated involved with sheriffs, also involved with the people on the child sex offender registry, involved with drugs crimes with the military, identity thefts and frauds, evidence racketeering, databases involved. Identity thefts and frauds. Clear as day. Black History Month is about a predicate acts delivery system method. It's about a predicate act delivery system method that forced no one to talk about it and to force everyone to blame what it caused, like negative value nature progressions, acts and natures, acts like predicate acts, natures like criminal insidiousness natures, wrongdoers, wrongdoing itself. To cause that to be blamed on other things, others themselves, for time and positions. That was sustained method against Native Americans A through Z since before our founding parents were even born. Then against Native colonists A through Z with them, sickly distinctly, to keep how sickly non-distinctly from being discerned effectively. sickly distinctly against humanity's volume/S, the species body, grouped, areas, ages, sexes, individual. See, when we are in a negative value nature progression, identity of negative value nature progression, self-value because of the breaching method, effective breaching method, we put syntax nature, therefore function puts governments and groups more important than individuals. The Constitution usually correlation demonstrates supposed to be other. See, but we have self-value, criminally foreign influence, readings of statutes originally and still, sequence racketeering. So they have how they have little boys and girls sickly distinctly reacting to it is where and how, like, for example, that young woman associated with Trinity too. I never had a conversation with her there, and the mayor's daughter. So but then they pretend they have the excuse that looks real. It is real, but being used for a lie. Like they want privacy, or they want to bring down how much people speak, and with physical delusions. And while there are simultaneously rules, crimes, predators, roles, preventing writing, and fabricating audio and video. Now there are police that have also been replacing what is actually recorded over Facebook, which shows that how they've been lying about people's behavior, where and how the behavioral division of the F.B.I. is also brought up. For example, there's a guy named Mr. Potter who had kids on the there's a Klotz family and there's a DeMoro family. There's a DeMoro family. The Kerr family also said there's a Klotz family, and there's they didn't say they communicated, demonstrated there's a Klotz family, and there's a former person who used to answer the phones for the Wethersfield police, reportedly. Miss Smith, the one involved with Wethersfield town offices too, with the men and women switching names with the name Sullivan, and with a whole bunch of officers that used the name McGee, and then they confess to me and others that they have only one officer with McGee, as people involved with where they have been preventing me writing. And so there is also a Dean Alford, and or someone who used his name, who also demonstrated, recorded, confessed, confirmed, what's his name? The Joshua Stryker is involved with predicate acts with them for the forging and switching names on Facebook part, tied to his confessions, demonstrations, and sequence shifts, roles, and uses of them on Facebook. And this is not against the government, this is personally. Because this is on and off campuses, recorded, confessed, demonstrated, confirmed to me. Also people that were involved with criminal justice, with Mike Oliver, are also recorded, confessed, and demonstrated with the prosecutors and judges in the FBI and the state police and police families, fire departments, state police, involved with that, with all bunch of foreign, on off with the locations around Trinity College that are relevant. And these are people that will tell you the truth if you ask them correctly. They don't know me at all. These are people that in the past recorded, would ask a question and they wouldn't like the answer, they walk away. Then I never saw them again. In other words, the people who timed me going to the office when I was a kid one time, and then the girl that was at Trinity College as a woman then, timed asking me if my father was in the mafia. There's also a Joshua Julian who was spreading lies like that with people that were convicted of federal crimes that were also associated with and as the co-defendants of former director of the F.B.I. before that. And so, in other words, before they got caught, though, I mean, they got caught before that, but that was after I got out of high school. That was proven. While I was in high school, these are people that were involved with gangs and with overt criminal enterprises, foreign and domestic military, on off job sites, like construction sites, and like with the buildings of downtown Hartford, Note, Fox, Connecticut News, and St. Anthony's Church there. On the other side of that block of buildings is the state capitol, pointing to it at about 1 o'clock in the afternoon, the shadow of the state capitol. And so it's like we have grammar school logic with the parties and their fake sides. So they value how they have sick, fake integrity against each other by means to value unity that is sick, fake. So both political parties in each branch of government is the complete possession of a predicate acts delivery system method. And it's fine if someone wants to debate this. Have them pick one name in sequence with the branches of government, please. I need the names of the judges involved. There's a Judge Killian involved with the sequence. She has and with methods recorded, whole methods that the judicial branch and the executive branch is involved with, like recording themselves, fabricating lies into databases, speaking things that are fake into databases to pretend things were recorded true before that weren't. And where they make instances where just because they know where you're going to be, they could do that. Just stick on fabricated things. That is also tied to town. There's a Pandolf family. I also don't know. Recorded, confessed, and demonstrated involved with the corner of Wells Street. These are people all along Wells Road, all the way to Central Connecticut State University, on off Central Connecticut State University, involved with relevant, falsified police reports roles, people in the background, uses of them roles. These are also roles, uses of that leading up to the World Trade Center and since. For example, WFSB recorded, confessed, and demonstrated, even though it is tied to people, in other words, news people attaching people to fake words, fake locations, even fake ties to doctors, little kids even. They're attaching the fake ties to doctors that weren't at all. Same ones that through time, then later, they make problems. They use these methods of, where they're getting over on the Constitution and they have, criminally foreign influenced statutes self-valued, where they can make exceptions in exception nature and exploit the exceptions in exception nature as having been. I mean, being because they have been set up since before our founding parents were born, since before cars. The pathology of Wethersfield, Connecticut, as a suburb where George Washington had to come to leave slavery entrenched because he was forced to, because it was too deeply entrenched, the method /S, through methods of everyone else, through that one method. So, in other words, there are a whole bunch of people that I don't know at all who pretended other. And so that is recorded when they try to talk, so they can't talk. So they have to keep delaying and stacking on more roles and names, forging names, switching names, offensively preventing the law while they're pretending to be the law. So they had to hide lie progression, so they've been hiding it by setting up innocent people in cases. This is recorded, confessed, demonstrated, confirmed their methods. And by attaching their lies and illusions they need to hide recorded as victims, but as victim predators, onto other people. Pure predators, some of them. So how there is collusion between the branches of government is also how they have various natures of police forms and of the same police form, natures of police forms, intercities, falsifying police reports on the same arrests, switching arresting officers' names, stick them into databases. So that's regarding their motivations. Also, Trinity police recorded, confessed, and demonstrated that off-campus investigators, besides the guy who said his name was Darth Vader, they were involved with this. Now, the Joshua Julian and Joshua Stryker clique are further involved with the principal sex offenders campus, with a Collo family, that people from Central Connecticut State University and Trinity College also confessed, demonstrated, recorded, involved with their predicate acts, and with trying to and with evidence racketeering on Facebook, where they're setting up illusions, so the evidence racketeering is in the background. In other words, there's a Justice Klavinskis and there's a Joe Aiello who recorded, confessed, and demonstrated they were going to pretend other, but they are simultaneously recorded, confessed, and demonstrated that the threats and demonstrations of recorded evidence racketeering roles against me offensively, which are also predicate acts roles. Now, these are people also recorded, confessed, and demonstrated involved with this, with the locations next to campuses. Now, these are identities. These are people kept needing to hide live progressions from on the campus, even with the kids of the people who answer, who are not even psychologists, psychiatry, just like people who type into databases as what do they call, counselors, social workers, nurses. These are people made to take records when there are things that go on. In other words, but they're mixing in where and how the branches have been using it to hide their personal life aggressions and offensively, because they were already used remote, everyone from every identity ground location. So we're going to examine how there is fake science speaking for North End of Hartford on the other side of Fox Connecticut News. But we have to have them follow mandated law, and we have to get them, if they're not going to follow it real fast, we need to get them away from the children and WFSB and with their fake charity. Of course those kids need help, and they're not going to get help through that. You know what I mean? We just need mandated law followed. So please respond for. I need the name of the judge and Professor Schub's name, because these are people also on off Yale, the other colleges and all the campus colleges and university, a whole bunch of them. I'm going to list the names. Then you get into the names involved. This is everyone speaking through other people. So I don't know that woman from Central Connecticut State, from Trinity College, from my town, but she also sought me out, recorded, confessed, demonstrated, confirmed that Eric Oliveri and a Joshua Stryker, when she was a kid, was involved with them with evidence racketeering. Where they ask question, if they don't get loaded statements and questions, if they don't get their answer wrong like they want and need, they make it wrong. They just fabricate things. Now these are the kids of the people with other. There are Russian families also recorded, confessed, demonstrated, confirmed, involved with Hartford Hospital, and military families, and they have aggression. Miss Sweeny, Trinity College. And they have rape threats with New Britain Superior Court's Facebook page tied to the principal sex offenders campus before he was caught. So it is recorded. There are means recorded to show how they have such sustained, forced, that are these are also juxtaposed uses of juxtaposed natures of organized crime with the kids. And the sexual is so they have types of responses to types of crimes and types of sensibilities where there are only 3 branches of government, but the various natures of courts and people on all the state judicial branch offices and locations next to them are also involved with predicate acts or with wrongdoing, even if as victim predators. This is what we need forgiveness for, not for the people who trespass against us, not to give up against them, because everyone's sense and sensibilities, everyone's speaking through other people, was it where and how that is being exploited, having been exploited. So there were also Zano family has cousins that are also recorded, confessed, and demonstrated involved with them with predicate acts. I barely know them. Only the instances I know them were involved with racketeering with data and databases, names, identity thefts and frauds, with investigators and investigations, with the people involved with the forging names, switching names over the last 2 months with the Wethersfield town offices, and with where the Wethersfield Police Department used to be. And all these people have ties with Dillon family. That is recorded, confessed, demonstrated, confirmed, coaching victims to be victim predator roles, forced further abuses of each age of fact treatment nature. Forced self-value too. Because this is what no one understands, no one cares. It's all right if no one cares. Don't approach me and don't attach me to fake locations ties to you guys. So in other words, I want to talk about positive. I want to be and stay positive. I want to entertain some fake people because it fits the sense and sensibilities of some victim predators who entertained judges and prosecutors and F.B.I. and C.I.A. and overt criminal enterprises. These are people over themselves, a whole bunch of ways. Overt criminal enterprises, the people that ask the things and overtly like that play those games, they're simultaneously need to pretend they don't realize how they can be criminally foreign influenced. They're evidence racketeering natures. They're identity thefts and frauds rules. They're also recorded various ways, conscious that where and how they have the kids make confessions, demonstrations to first grade kids. At each grade of sickly distinctly. They build upon it. About how they have the interbranching collusion with the overt criminal enterprises in the physical delusions that are just so simple to discern when everyone makes an opinion about what Jim Crow laws were. That's not discerned because everyone came through sick campuses. Jim Crow laws were /are about a predicate acts delivery system method, and also there were also there's a I believe there's a Guerrera who is with the leadership of Connecticut, legislative branch, involved with the prosecutors and judges and uses of his kids in the past to use his sensibilities now with the people that are involved with the World Trade Center predicate acts. With the context, sequence shifts to the Ninth Circuit Court right next to the World Trade Center attack, right before the attack had been presented from inside the court, that papers that had been brought on timely to the court and time-stamped properly. They were then post-dated from inside the Ninth Circuit and presented to the judges. And then the World Trade Center attack happened. So that made all these delays and stuff like that. That proven led to a 2006 district court case now in Connecticut, which is also recorded, confessed, and demonstrated. The defendants in that case, besides former director of the F.B.I. and their family members, are people that recorded, confessed, demonstrated, people from Trinity College, like Charlie Bowes, used to be a quarterback of Trinity College, reportedly. He went to my high school. I never had a class with him, never saw him in a cafeteria, probably went to different... They would do things where they would isolate people to where and how they're using on off campuses the lie progressions of where and how they have the child campuses involved with predicate acts and with the people next to it of another method. So then they have the sequence shifts and the little illusions that are exploited with that. Offensive evidence reception racketeering, roles with various natures, drugs, crimes, that also the people that are involved with the probations have. Because they're also involved with medicines, drugs, crimes. So these are doctors forging and switching names. And they pretend not to understand people after they stack so many illusions. So Trinity College also recorded, confessed, demonstrated that the on-campus police said that an off-campus officer is the one that was involved with these predicate acts against me, but with the wrongdoing of having taken away my ID. And with their roles with drugs and medicines crimes with Hartford and New Britain courts and police forms intercities, with the locations next to Trinity College through time, that are involved with the families that have been exploiting that and using their roles with such to keep kids in groups isolated and into contexts where no one's going to tell the whole truth because they were all doing drugs and things like that. And they use other people's names in those contexts. And they keep the intelligence community criminally foreign influence delusions raw. So it is necessary to have counters to the people associated with this Joshua Stryker pretending he knows me. In the context he set up in the past to pretend to know me. They've been slandering me, spreading lies. These are people that aren't my friends. That have been pretending to be my friends behind my back. And they've been pretending not to be my friends behind my back, where they use the right to lie, where they don't have the right to lie. These are also people involved a whole bunch of ways with Washington, D.C., and with the World Trade Center other ways, not just the sequence shifts. So there are all kinds of syntax racketeering, so there is functions racketeering. So they can't afford that discerned with all identity ground locations. So they can't afford computers to be told simply because they're not that they're not complicated. They're just extensive. So how the breaching method, we should have breaching method week as a part of Black history because there are countless positive value, nature, progressions, action, natures can be revealed, revelations that can be revealed by blaming slavery. For example, one part of that against everyone, that breaching method that was called colonization, it was bigger than colonization. It was bigger than England, had possessions of England's, has complete possession of England's identity, America's identity, where it is a word, where it is a name that has to be used and defended in relationship to markets agreements, hundreds of nations at once, all tactically ulterior from the system that really has us individual grouped in together. So increasingly, entertaining such, we increasingly can't entertain why actually we are individually grouped in together. That's why and how the significance of Greece's individual identity remain /s, where and how the the head of the Roman Republic, Rome, the remnants of that which is most probably proper evidence correlation reveals the most probable. That was revealed by the whole species working together before sciences became criminally foreign influenced. They were being led by that identity of volume that causes inventions or not in relation to work and not in relation to its identity in relation to itself, and the value of that. For example, inventions are further positive or negative too. And the ancients demonstrably understood this. Criminal insidiousness, for example, a criminal insidiousness nature, a person who's a wrongdoer, for example, they're going to make positive and negative treatments that are negative. because where it is syntax oriented. And see, the breaching method knew this. It could criminally, if forced roles with tactically, criminally foreign influence statutes and defenses of them, it could increasingly maintain self-value roles with what nature was demonstrating as negative value nature progressions acts natures roles with blaming the real causes of them on other things other than themselves. And breaching method employed to profit from it and stuff like that, and then the people discern such, blaming true the people involved with it, but increasingly leaving out the breaching method. Some people say, oh, it's the money. It's the people who control the money. If we have free speech and science true, we have reliefs. Even if we don't even if the money stays the same, we have reliefs. We can say, well, look, this is unacceptable. And in other words, but this is private. This company has to make this. How the private? We have to look at this as a war zone, revolution zone. It's a war zone. When at the end of the war, they clean up and hope for no other war. Revolution zone, you clean up, you end wars. You end the need for them because you reveal the liberation of the human fact treatment nature. So this is one of many videos that involves television judges also now, where I've been asking, where they have these methods where they set up instances where you have to communicate with other people, and or you avoid it. In other words, even the right to everything they tell you about to do in courts is exploited. They use all those truths for lies because of how they've been involved with evidence racketeering for so long, which is recorded, confessed, to demonstrate also involved with the child campuses simultaneously, because they use these methods where they make the confessions intercities with the people that kept needing to hide the lie progressions. With Trinity College and CCSU are the ones that were involved with this. So I never had a communications with this Joshua Stryker, and there's a girl who was involved with Trinity College, who was a young woman who was involved with Trinity College, who recorded, confessed, and demonstrated the Oliveri family was involved with her also with them, with predicate acts, with overt criminal enterprises, and with the Tomorrow family, and with the Kerr family, also recorded, confessed, and demonstrated involved with the principal child sex offenders campus. I never saw the Kerr family when I went there, and I only saw that Tomorrow family one time. But they're also involved with the fire departments, like with this Iowa family, and like the one next to Trinity College, right across from where they have that house with the porch on top of it, where reportedly they used to shoot slaves, where George Washington had to leave slavery entrenched here in the North and in the South sickly distinctly. Rather than studying that, we have that worse than obfuscated, not by accident. So I needed a response on paper for them, please, Miss Sweeny. And lawyers are also recorded, confessed, to demonstrate with the news media and with advertising companies. So these are also intercities police forms through time-used methods that make it so I need a response online too, because these are campuses lying about people's behavior online and what they think about their behavior, because they can't afford discerned or spoken what is actually recorded per their uses of racketeering methods, uses of media. There's also a Celeste Wells, I don't know, that pretended other, associated with Facebook, uses of Facebook pages, also New Britain Superior Court's Facebook page, involved with predicate acts with the principal sex offenders in Wethersfield, and with the ones with the uses of Trinity College's Facebook page, and with people with the Los Solitos, as undercover with them or not. Joey Quest recorded, confessed, and demonstrated federal crimes of other natures with identity theft, frauds, falsified police reports rolls, and drugs and medicines crimes rolls with judges and prosecutors involved with them. Let's get them now. Because these are also people that recorded, confessed, and demonstrated roles in untimely deaths on and off Trinity College, Connecticut, and with my new and past neighbors, involved with the people also, with the cliques, with the answering phones for the Wethersfield police through time, and with these two Mendez police. Let's get all this on the paper.